Hello, hi, bonjour, good day, hola. Clearly, I don't know very many languages. But anyway, welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is McKay, and if you're wondering if that is a Ninja Turtle on my hat, you're wondering the correct thing. That is exactly what that is, and the reason I chose this hat for today is because I'm going to get a little close, maybe even uncomfortably close to this camera, and talk to you just briefly about a couple of thoughts I had when I woke up this morning. Now, the overall mood, I guess, of the thoughts I'm going to share are not somber, but a little more serious. And anybody that follows my channel knows I'm not a very serious person, or at least I'm sure it appears that I'm not a very serious person, and that is the truth. I tend to take life not super seriously, outside of obviously the things that I have to. I try to generally kind of laugh things off. And, it's just hard for me to, I guess, keep a straight face in a lot of cases. But I figured if I'm going to be serious for a minute, we'll offset that, the yin to the yang, with this Ninja Turtle hat. That way, I'm not taking myself too seriously, and you're not taking me too seriously either. But that being said, I woke up today, and I had two thoughts. The first one was a little bit somber, and this is what it was. I thought to myself, man, the crypto market and stocks in general have been going down terribly for quite some time, right? Just started to really think about how many months it had been going bad, and thought to myself, man, it's already been going, pretty terrible for several months. And the outlook, or the forecast isn't really that good either, especially with the rate hikes and things like that, and the economy and the way it is right now with inflation and some of the war stuff going on, other potential wars that could happen. And so the general outlook is just kind of grim, and that was my first thought. Then my second thought was this. There's kind of two parts, I guess, to this thought, but I thought to myself, I am going to be a millionaire someday. And there's just no way around it. Like, I have the motivation and the determination, I guess is the more important one, to make that happen. And I thought to myself, okay, inside of the crypto and stock space, when we talk about people that are millionaires, or in most cases, many cases, multi-millionaires, or possibly even billionaires, outside of the ones that already started wealthy, what I mean by that is, okay, someone that had $957,000 and they turned that into $1 million. Okay, that's awesome. That's not what I'm referring to, though. That's not as impressive to me as some of these people you hear about that maybe only had $1,000, 4 years ago or something, and now they're millionaires, or in some cases multi-millionaires, right? Now I realize within that small percentage of people, there's also a percentage within that maybe it was just luck. They put money in crypto 4 years ago into a coin that exploded, happened to notice it was up, an exponential amount. They were smart enough to sell it, because that's also a problem in this space, and people just thinking it'll go up forever. And now they're millionaires, hanging out on a beach, drinking a Corona in Hawaii, right? Well, I like to give more credit and more thought, though, to the people that maybe during the time of max pain and fear, which is kind of what we're experiencing right now, put together a plan silently in the background because they believed in the space enough, and especially at least Bitcoin, to say, hey, this could be a buying opportunity of my lifetime. Because that, a lot of times during these market cycles, is how people actually become multimillionaires from not a whole lot of money, right? Is that they didn't wait to buy when everybody was talking good about it, because at that point you're closer to the top, than you are to the bottom. And in some cases, very far removed from where the bottom will eventually be. It's not a good time to buy, but that's the time that people obviously FOMO in. But I thought, these people that are smart enough to go, hey, sure it looks risky, and sure everybody's telling me that crypto's dead and Bitcoin's dead and so on, right? This is the time, though, to be putting a plan together that could change your and my life, forever. So I just wanted to mention that to start today's video. I'm also going to quickly jump into my personal Bitcoin plan. I made a two-part video, which I'll link in the description. I think I did that a couple weeks ago, just of my DCA levels and my plan for at least accumulating Bitcoin in the bear market. I'll just give you a brief, quick update on that. Otherwise, I just wanted to kind of talk about, some other parts of my strategy as far as it relates to what the economy is doing. Time frame to me being more important than anything. And if you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. All right, now I am a simple creature as far as a lot of these things go. I know there's apps out there that make a lot of this a lot easier, but I just want to share with you quickly as it relates to my plan, how I would keep track of it. Obviously, if you've watched one of my previous videos, I mentioned that my order filled for my very first DCA spot for Bitcoin, which is at 23,000. Well, it's 22,650, but my plan was to front run it at 23K. So the order filled at $23,111, right? Now, I don't want to disclose the amount that I'm using to invest overall, but I will just use the example of 10K. I realize not a lot of people have 10K, or some people have more than that, and that's not the point. I just want to give an easy round number to kind of use for this example, just to show you guys real quick. So 20% of 10K obviously is 2K. So I come over here to this website and I put in that, well, the first thing I do is I pull up my calculator and I take $2,000, right? And you divide that by your price. So 23,111 in this case. And that equals your amount of shares of Bitcoin. So I basically, if I purchase $2,000 worth of Bitcoin at 23,111, I got 0.08 and a whole bunch of numbers, percent or share of Bitcoin. Okay, so now let's fast forward and just pretend that, Bitcoin continues to come down, stocks continue to crash, and some of my other orders get filled, right? So down here I have that my next target would be 19K, which we've discussed in previous videos as to the reason why that is. But I would have front run that at 20, which we've actually gotten really close to this, but I'm just gonna, for the sake of this video, say that every one of my orders is gonna be the 111, right? So over here, back on this website, I would put down, or I would, back on my calculator, sorry, I would say, okay, 20% would be the same thing, 2,000, divided by, in this case, 20,111 equals, boom, 0.099, blah, blah, blah. And then the last purchase I would make would be, or the third purchase, if we go down that low, would be the front running of 17,000, so 17,111, and that's 40%, so that'd be $4,000. That's where I came up with that number, right? For a share, I put $4,000 divided by my buy-in price, which would hypothetically be 17,111, right? And that equals this amount. So at that point, I would purchase 0.23 and a bunch of numbers, percentage, or a share of Bitcoin, right? So then at this point, let's just say that was the only 3 purchases I had made up to that point. I can hit calculate, and it's going to give me an error up here saying that please enter a valid number of shares bought. I think it just has a hard time understanding all these decimals and numbers. However, it still does calculate. So down here it says I have a total share of 0.419 and a whole bunch of numbers at the average cost of $19,058. So with those 3 purchases, I had the $23,000 one, I would have the $20,000 one should that fill, and then let's just say I had the $17,000 one fill. My average price at that point would be about $19,000 for Bitcoin. All right, and again, I will leave the link in the description for that 2-part video that goes into my full plan so you can kind of understand why I come up with some of these numbers. But just to kind of briefly explain, so obviously 20% plus 20% plus 40% would only be 80, right? Well, where's the other 20? Well, I discussed in the video that is an amount I have set aside, more to do with the time frames of things, just kind of waiting to see what happens with the inflation rates and stuff over the end of this year. I want to have a little bit left there in case Bitcoin just hangs out somewhere around 20 forever. Maybe it dips down to 18. I get a second buy down there with 20 more percent. So watch that video to understand that other 20%. However, I have this one area that says the low 12K golden pocket average percent area. I'm going to front run at 14K. And in that other video, I discussed that I have the exact same amount that I plan on DCAing into Bitcoin. I have set aside that same amount with an altcoin strategy plan. But I say in that video, and I'll say it again here, if Bitcoin drops down to 14K, then I'm going to take that entire amount and also invest it in Bitcoin. So for the sake of this video, again, I'm not disclosing my amounts, but since I used 10,000 as the example in this video, that would mean that for the example, that'd be another 10,000 that I have sitting on the side, planned for on altcoins, but ready to deploy to Bitcoin if it gets down to this level. So we're going to go back over here to this calculator one more time, right? And we're going to say all at once we have $10,000, right? And we're going to divide that by the buy order price of 14,111, and that comes up with this decimal number, which I'm going to copy and paste back over into our website over here, right? So we're going to copy that in, and then we're going to put 14,111, and hit calculate again. And we scroll down, and it now would show I have a total share of Bitcoin at 1.12. So I would have over a full Bitcoin at that point with the average cost of just under $16,000. All right. So what would all this mean as it pertains to this hypothetical portfolio that I'm attempting to build, right? Well, what it would mean is that out of my original 10,000, I invested 8 of it, right? I never invested the other 20% of that it hit by 14,111. I put another 10K in, so I would be $18,000, out of my 20 initial plan for Bitcoin invested into Bitcoin. This calculator, this average down calculator here I used online shows that I would have 1.1284 and so on of shares worth of Bitcoin at an average cost of just under $16,000, right? So what could I use that to determine? Well, let's just take, I won't put the whole thing in just because it's a big old long number, but let's just take 1.1284. Let's just take just that. And we're going to times that by, we'll use 69,000 because that's roughly what the top was for Bitcoin, give or take a few $100s depending on the exchange. So we're going to put 69, and then of course 3 zeros for 69,000. That equals 77,859. So what this would mean is that if Bitcoin can get back at some point in the year, next year or 2 or 3 or whatever it takes, right, back to just its all-time high that was from last year in late November, then that my $18,000 that I would have invested in crypto in this hypothetical situation would be worth $77,000 at that point, right? And of course, if it went up to over 100,000, let's just say it goes to 150, times this by 2, you can kind of see how it wouldn't take long in the next potential bull run for this to turn into a very, very smart investment and a very good, safe DCA strategy. So just remember, you need to have an amount you're comfortable with investing and leaving sit still for a bit, an amount you can afford to lose. That's not something that people say just as a cliche in stocks. It is a truth. You need to always plan that you could lose everything that you invest, and so always have the mindset that you cannot invest something you can't afford to lose. But as long as you've got that mindset, something like this could be a smart way to have a DCA plan. That way, you're never going to nail the bottom, but at least, if you're setting up your different buy levels, it's going to average down your cost if crypto continues to dump further than expected. And you just have to have that outlook that in a few years, you will be hopefully at least break even, and maybe in a few more years beyond that, you could be filthy rich and change your life forever, right? So I just want to share that thought with you. I will leave a link in the description for this online calculator I used. I know there's probably a billion apps and better things out there than this, but it's just what I use. And if you don't have anything you're currently using, then I will leave you this link in the description. Oh, and just to wrap things up before we sign off for the day or check out or clock out or whatever, I just wanted to mention that other 20%. I mentioned in the beginning of the video that I wanted to keep an eye on the economy. What I mean by that is we still have 4 more scheduled FOMC meetings to end the year, and there's going to be some more CPI data that comes out and things to do with what our inflation rates are at and how we're doing. And if I find out at some point that we're doing okay and that there may be a turn potentially on the horizon in just stocks in general, then I would probably deploy that last 20% at that point if it fit my time frame criteria as well, meaning towards the end of the year. Because at the end of the day, the end of the year is a big time frame I'm eyeing. But if inflation and stuff's still horrible, or say another war's on the brink of happening, or there's just something going on in the world that's still going to lead me to believe the markets will continue to plunge for maybe longer than we expect, well, at that point, I would still have that 20% in my back pocket to add, at whatever price or whatever time frame, more specifically, I feel comfortable. And we'll just end the video by mentioning that it is okay to be a sheep, right? In fact, sheep have lots of friends because there's far more sheep than there are wolves, really, exponentially more, right? So you're always going to be surrounded with friends, that share similar ideals and goals as as sheep. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I hope this thought's not taken off base. But I just know a lot of people got into crypto to change their lives, especially at least from a financial standpoint. And I just want you to keep that in mind as you go, hey, what everyone else is talking about, quote unquote, retail, right? Or the herd, what everyone else is talking about or what their sentiment is, you need to think differently. Now, it doesn't mean that you go all in right now just because everyone's scared, right? But start putting together that plan today so you can change your life. Because if you want to be a wolf, again, it's fine if you want to be a sheep. No one will judge you and you will have plenty of friends. In fact, you're going to be judged harder being a wolf. But fast forward maybe 5 years from now, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be glad you decided to be a lone wolf. If you guys are liking the content, please remember to like and subscribe, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. It's TA.